don't make us who we are. So I'll dream until I make it real, and all I see is.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mentorship Mondays. We're so excited to be back and to be joining with you. And I'm always excited to be with Maren. Hi, Maren. I'm excited to see you.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. What's new? What's going on?
Oh my gosh. So much actually.
I love that.
So after the Sunday night after our last recording where we were talking about is it Aaron Carter? Is that his name?
Yes. Yes.
I went to bed and an hour later I woke up and I saw an orb flying through my bedroom.
Yes.
And it like startled me so much that I like literally my heart was beating so much. My husband woke up and was like, "What is it?" Like I don't even think I don't know. Maybe I jumped or something, and that woke him up. But yeah, a literal orb flying through the air. So normally, like when I see an orb, it's like in one place and it like
Right.
flicks like
Yeah.
a star, kind
Yeah.
of.
I know
Or
what you mean.
or if I see a color, it will be big, but it's like in one spot.
Yeah.
And this was flying through the bedroom. And I
Mm.
thought, oh my gosh, I bet that's Aaron Carter, because we were just talking about him. I felt like he was with me the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And then the next day I was like driving to work and I was like, I've got to tell Michelle. And then I start to feel like a male energy, like, yeah. So I really felt like it was him. And then it makes me think, how in the world did I wake up like so perfectly to just see that? Was he like talking to me in my sleep and then was like saying goodbye and I woke up? Like, how does that happen?
Well, I mean, how exactly does it happen? Who really knows? But what they've showed me is yesterday actually, one of the sessions that I had was there was a father that was telling one of his daughters some information and he showed whispering. And if you're watching right now, then you'll know who this I think who will know who I'm talking about, but it's like whispering in the ear. So, there's like oh, there goes my phone. A vibrational frequency. So, did he come up and nudge you? Did he whisper at you? Did he, there's some sort of communication he's having with you while you are in a twilight state, but you're in an in-between state. So there must have been some kind of state that you were in, because if you were, say, into your sleep about an hour, you wouldn't be into that deep, deep sleep at that point.
Yeah.
What's interesting is when he communicated with me that first time, because I've had some little communications with him as well, and he popped in a reading yesterday too. And I
He's
was
not
asleep
finished
for
with us.
about an hour. He's not finished with us. No. And he is chatty, and he's processing quite a bit
Yeah.
over this time, because he seems a little different as I connected with him yesterday than he did 2 weeks ago. Maybe a bit
Kind of felt that
clearer,
too.
a bit clearer, a
Yeah.
bit more accepting
Yeah.
of where he is. But in any case, he had woken me up. You recall, he woke me right up and startled me.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that there's a little bit of pleasure being taken from that, like a bit of a tease, like
Yeah.
kind of like freaking us out just a little bit, like making this jump.
Yeah.
And that kind of suits his personality, I feel. So, but did you have any communication with him? Did he talk to you or anything?
It was almost like I felt like he wanted to, and then it would be like I'd want to connect, but then I'd be like, but what is the purpose of connecting with you? Because like I can't tell your family this. Like I'm not like I don't know. So I just never really like connected. I've been having a hard time. I've just been so busy and
Yeah.
like finding like me time. And
Yeah.
I did a reading for someone and like right as we were ending, like this male figure came in and And I was like, okay, well, I'll take 5 minutes to see if this is like, something important. And I was like, no, I'm done. Like, I can't
Yeah.
connect anymore. And I
Yeah.
like, or like I was driving one time and I felt someone and I was like, okay, I'll just take 5 minutes but then it's like 30 seconds later. I'm like, well, I really need to get going. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't do this.
Well,
I've been,
because they will come in, like, a lot of times, like if we've got an hour with somebody, and the in the beginning, like, some people are coming to us that know specifically who they want to talk to. They've got somebody in mind, and of course, we don't have any control over who comes in. Like, quite honestly, it's not we request, and 9 times out of 10 that soul will step in. But sometimes, as let's say there's a son somebody wants to talk to. Well, their grandfather might come first, and then a friend, a sister, and then the son comes last. And what I've been told as to why that may happen is maybe there is a such a strong energy of wanting to connect with that person, with that son, that it almost blocks that connection a little bit, so that it's like the path of least resistance is some of these other ones stepping in first to create comfort, to create a
Mhm.
vibrational softness, so that the one that is so emotionally connected may have just passed, or whatever the situation is, which is usually connected to healing, is able to come through and really deliver the message. And what they say to me is like, I was waiting, I'm the grand finale, like I'm the star of the show. So it's like setting up the show, like, here we have the first act, they come in, and then we've got the second act, the finale. um but sometimes the door's wide open, and one will start talking and say we have our session. Well, then there's other members coming in, there's other ones that start to come in. They're like, well, hey, I've got something to say, or I'd like to say something. That doesn't mean that we are able to sit the entire day and run through the entire family, because there's a lot of times that they would let us do that. Now,
Yeah.
what's interesting is, so when I set my intention for my sessions, and I've done this since the day I started doing them, is I said to Spirit, hey, I've got 60 minutes, I've got 90 minutes. Please help me adhere to that time. Because it's important when you have, so many sessions, and you have maybe a half an hour in between to go to the washroom or get a drink or whatever you need to do. You want to be able to have that time to reset yourself. And as, wanting to please and wanting to take care of somebody and to heal, and especially when there's such an emotional connection or there's a lot of questions, it's very easy to get into that zone of just keep going, then before you know it, you're running into your next session, or you're running past whatever your personal appointment or work, or just your
Yeah.
downtime may be. And so by setting that intention, I find that they start to quieten down. So
Goodness.
because that's like, all right, I'm letting you all know that I am ears wide open for this 60 minutes. So my guides, Eric, Bronwyn, all of you, connect with these souls and let them know that those that are able to come forward, that it's the most important for this person, please come first, or
Yeah.
please come and make sure that your message is given, that connection is made. Anybody else, if you've got something to say, whether you piggyback or say something quick or give a quick validation of who you are, that's great. But this is how much time we have. Let's make the most of this time. Let's do whatever's necessary. Now, on the second part of that, too, what somebody may want to have happen in a session is not necessarily what somebody needs. And so, Spirit's not there to please, as just as much as we work through the not being people pleasing and setting boundaries. Spirit has no reason to please. They're there to guide, to help, to assist. And it's like that parent. Sometimes it's like that tough love. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's that hand that says, you may not necessarily like what you're hearing, but this is what's good for you. This is what will help you. You'll see that in, 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever, this is exactly what you needed to hear. And so there's a lot of trust in that as well. So it really helps for those that are having sessions to say, well, this is who I would like to connect with, but I'm also open to understanding that that might not happen, that it could be somebody else that comes through. It could be my guide that comes through, because maybe there's another reason why I'm here that I don't know yet. And then for us on the other side that are, you know, facilitating the session, to be okay with that and to not feel that it's a failure if that person that's being requested didn't come through, or that it's, it doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It's just that's part of the flow. But like you said, 9 times out of 10, you'll find that the one that they want to come through will, because it's often, we're not here to create a magic trick or to, show, yes, we are showing evidence of life after death or life after life. We are showing that we do exist past the physical body, and that is a very important message for all of us. But at the end of the day, this is healing. This is healing to be able to accept the change in relationships, to accept that there is physical change, that there is now a non-physical relationship that's happening, and to be able to step into that. And often there's so much transition that happens in the ones that are still here, all the changes that are happening. So there's a lot of healing that goes on, whether the person that's coming to us for the session realizes that or not. We know that there's a lot of healing involved.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that time constraint.
And this one was really interesting. So my sitter wanted to talk to his mother, and she did come forward, and she was the first one that came forward. But then this man energy, like in the middle, I kind of felt this man energy come forward, and she like shut it down. Like it was like I felt it, and then she like kind of like got louder, like, nope, it's not your turn.
Yeah.
So then I think once everything was done, we said closing prayers. It was like, then he was like, but I'm here and I want something to say. And then I was like, okay, let me see. But then I was over it. Maybe he was over it because the sitter was gone. And so, I don't know, but it is really.
Yeah. And that happens too. And something that I find interesting is that sometimes that happens. And I always share that with who I'm sitting with, because that's happened more than once with me, that, there'll be more than one stepping in, and all of a sudden the one that was speaking, the other one just takes right over or tries to take over. And so I always share that because it's often a signal to their personality. It's like, okay, I've got your mother and father here. Your father's not saying very much. Your mother's completely monopolized the conversation. Yep, that's the way that she was in life. She always made sure she got her words out. She always made sure she got her thing to say, and then my dad could speak. So there's reasons why they do that too, because they're showing in whatever way that they can, they're expressing their personality, and it's all evidence to who they were in the physical. So they'll do these things. I had one a couple weeks ago, which was so funny, and it was a woman's mother and her mother's sister. And I couldn't figure out, I kept thinking it was her mother's friend, and then I thought it was like somebody else, and I was having a hard time kind of deciphering who it was. But then they showed me, there's a couple validating pieces that came out, so we knew it was mother and sister. And the client said, well, yeah, they were very close, like they were quite a pair. And so, I'm trying to get some information from them. They kept showing me a factory belt, like working in a factory. And then I got the visual of like Lucille Ball and her friend Ethel, where it was the candies, that were going on the belt, and they kept doing it. And then she started like putting them in her mouth and everything.
Yeah.
And so once I said that to her, I'm like, because I asked, did your aunt work in a factory or something? Like, did she work on a line? No. So I'm like, huh. I'm like, okay, well, I know they mean something. So just because I can't figure it out in this moment, it doesn't mean that there's not some reason for it. So I'm like saying to them in my head, can you show me something else? Or like explain, like, I don't get what you mean. That's when they started to show me the Lucille ball. Like, it's like I was seeing the rest of it. Then when I said that to her, she goes, that was their connection. And they're mischievous. Like the two of them together. And what she said was that every reading that she's had, they always come in together. And they're like
Oh,
funny. They're very funny. So to give that kind of connection, it was really showing this is how we are. And they would monopolize a lot of the sessions because they'd come in together and just start, going back and forth and laughing and carrying on, which is, great evidence to be able to share that. And it may have taken a few moments to kind of dig around that and see what does
yeah.
that mean. But then once it came out, it's like, oh, okay. Now that makes sense.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
So what else is going on? Are we going to talk about something specific today? Do you have more stuff that's gone on?
I don't have more. Okay, so I feel like my what do you call it? Like precognitive premonition ability is like picking up.
Yeah.
So I this is just more of what's been happening. This has nothing to do with what we want to talk about
Okay.
today, but
Okay.
it's so interesting. So a couple of weeks ago, I took my kids to the dentist.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was like a little bit of time before dinner. And we were going to meet my husband for dinner in that area, which was like in a different kind of like suburb. So I'd
Yeah.
never been there before. Well, I've been to that. But anyways,
Yeah.
we don't hang out around there. So I was like, okay, well, let's find a park that we can play at until dinner. So I like Googled park nearby and I found this park. I pulled up to the park and I was like, I've had a dream about this park. Like I have had a dream where there was an event happening. It was a very interesting park. It was in a circle. Like there was like a circle road that went around the park and there was like lots of trees and like a grassy area and then like a little playground on one end. And I had a dream that there was like an event going on there and I was having a hard time parking. And I finally like parked along the road on the circle and had to like walk through the trees. And I like it's just like when you see it, it just like immediately hits you. You know, it's like I turned the corner, then I saw the circle street in the park, and I was like, I've dreamt this. And it was really weird. But then I had to take my son to, he's like super into Pokemon.
Yeah.
So I found this Pokemon store.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm going to like a different town that I've never been before. I was driving on a different road I'd never driven on before. And I like passed this baseball field. And I was like, oh, I've had a dream about that baseball field. I dreamt that we were in the houses that were right next to it and we walked across, there's like a little tree line. I was like, we went into that concession stand. That was the field we played on. Like I've like 100% had a dream about this baseball field. You know, it's just like it hits you like, oh,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I was going to a doctor like specialist this week. Never been to this building before. Never, I didn't even look up the suite number, nothing. I just, put in the doctor's name, drove to the location. I pull in, I look at it, and I'm like really thinking like, oh gosh, it's one of those where there's like tons of doctors, like I wonder where he is. And then, but the second I like looked up at the building, I had this flashback to a dream that I had where I was in this like doctor's office and I was looking for the doctor and I was going through the rooms and I finally found this woman doctor and she would help me, but I was seeing a man. But anyways, based on that dream, I was like, I bet you anything that is the room I'm going to be going to today. And I mean, I could have been on any side, any floor, and I was like, I bet that's it. Sure enough,
No
that
way.
was my
Oh my God.
doctor's room.
Yeah.
I know. And I was like, this is like really weird. And then too, what's kind of crazy is while the doctor was talking to me, I saw an orb on his left side, which would have been the woman's side. And I was like, I wonder if that's the lady that was in my dream, the woman doctor that actually helped me in my dream.
Yeah.
And which is kind of funny because
I was getting woman as you were talking before you even said pulling into the parking lot and everything. There's woman energy. Yeah.
Yeah, she was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, like that doctor was not very helpful at all. And so I feel like now my dream was kind of like processing the fact that he wasn't helpful, and I needed to find someone that was helpful,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
the spirits can help me, or I don't know. But
Oh, and you're going to find
so,
that's going to really speed up more too, the precognition.
okay. So then get this. Last weekend, the kids were, and I don't remember. Okay. Anyways, last weekend, I was going down the basement stairs, and I thought, spirit would never push us down the stairs, would they? And the very, like, I don't know if I thought of that, if I had that thought the night before or the morning of, but then Josh fell down the stairs. Yeah. And he was like, your people did this. And I was like, no, that was just an accident. I do know a lot of people that have like he was wearing socks, worn socks, slipped on the carpet, fell down the stairs, you know? Right. But the fact that I had like that random thought makes me think, did I have that thought like subconsciously? And then consciously, I was like, well, that wouldn't be from spirits, would it? You know what I mean? Like, something subconsciously said someone's going to fall down the stairs. So then consciously, I was like, well, it wouldn't be from the spirits, would it? You know? So,
that feels right.
Yeah, I don't think it was. He just was wearing socks, but I totally think that I thought of that like literally less than 24 hours before it happening.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of crazy. Like, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, this is a lot.
It is a lot because it's, you know, I got to tell you, as you're saying this, so I have a family member. I won't out who they are because they might not want me to say this. So I have a family member who is having, and this person is not at all one that you would expect that would be going through these type of things. But they have been having premonitions. They've been popping out of their body, having premonitions, and this has been going on for a little over a year now, quite intensely, but it's really picking up. And what's happening is they're getting like just like they think of somebody in their head, like somebody pops in their head, and they are on Facebook, and like that person pops up, or you know, they just think of them in their head, or they have a dream about them or something, and they literally find out the next day or 2 days later that person has passed. And this keeps happening. And now it's starting to happen with like other things, like it's like starting to move to thinking about somebody, and then there's like a situation around them. And so he is a little freaked out by it and knows that it's not coincidence. But there's a quickening taking place, right? So
what is it?
You know, a quickening is like as we're in our ascension, because we're all vibrationally expanding. And when we have that conscious, my daughter knows I'm filming. She's calling me. As we are in this state of growth, so as the earth is ascending, all of us on the earth are ascending. As we're growing, things are changing, you know, and it's happening in different ways, because so vibrational expanding is our physical body is becoming lighter, less density. So there's more light. Light is actually information, which is why when we talk about codes coming off the sun, molecules coming off the sun, it's actually geometric shapes and numbers, and there's within these codes information, also known as downloads. So when people get downloads, so it comes in like groups in pockets. Well, we're becoming more in a state of receiving, and that might be a little different for everybody, because you know, for some people they're not even consciously really working at this, but for those of us that are, you know, on this path of growing, we're noticing more. And there's been a lot of people saying to me, oh my gosh, like, you know, things have been coming to me, I'm getting downloads, I'm, you know, I'm seeing things, or I'm feeling things. And so dependent on where you are, and dependent on what your prime abilities are, or you know, And you in particular, you're having an additional group of abilities coming in. So there's an expansion, a space that's been created, and that space started about 40 days ago. And so
Okay.
you've got a space that's filling up. And so you'll find that everything is in cycles. Our ascension, our growth, everything is in cycles. So you'll find that like your auric space, your body, it all fills up with information, starts to get really tight. And then we have a shift, which means things will start to rise to the top that we don't need anymore. Anything connected to our past rises to the top. That might feel a little bit intense. It might feel like something's wrong. We might start to feel overwhelmed. Then we kind of flow with that. But what happens is when that releases, there's space again, and in comes something else.
When you said that, I think my candle just went out.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Release.
Yeah. Release. Yeah.
I feel that. I've been like, I 100% feel that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things are coming to the surface and I'm releasing them and I'm like letting them release.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's so funny because like our physical body responds to it as well,
Yes.
right? That was what I was going to see the specialist about, is like my food allergies. I feel like my whole body is becoming more sensitive to medications, to foods, to everything.
That's right.
And so I wanted to get my food allergies retested because I think that they've probably changed through this whole shift.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, if you think your food allergies have changed, you're going to be highly disappointed. And I was like, I didn't want to be like, well, I'm going through this spiritual thing.
Probably not the right guy to talk about that with. He seemed a little uptight, a little bit physically
Right?
grounded.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I need to find like a
Yeah.
holistic doctor or something.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you would do better with a holistic doctor because you're going to get more information that's better suited
Mhm.
to you. But yes, the like there are a lot of changes, and because everything is connected, what is happening within starts to happen on the outside. So in our
Mhm.
physical bodies also, I just found out that the issues with my skin, like I knew I'd always had eczema, but it really wasn't bad, until after I had cancer. It got really bad. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And, the information that I would get from Eric was a lot about, you need to change this out of your diet and you need to change this. And they told me my skin is the easiest way for my body to release that just is, it's like
Oh,
path of least
that makes
resistance,
sense. Yeah.
right? Our body will take
Yeah.
whatever that is, and that's just one of the ways my body does. But I'm like, okay, well, when's it going to be over? Because it just keeps like it gets better and then it cycles and my hands break out and it's itchy. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, what am I doing? Well, here's an example of how downloads work and how things happen at the time they're meant to happen, because the skin has been a catalyst for release. And all this time I've gone not realizing that an injection that I've been getting from the cancer clinic is actually something that anybody with allergies, particularly eczema or dermatitis, it increases it. And so then I started to think, wait a minute here. Every time my skin starts to get better, I get this injection every 90 days. And so I'm having an allergic reaction. It's just enough time to get that cycle that I start to get better. And then boom, I get the injection again. And so I
Yeah.
asked Eric, I'm like, why did I not know that, understand that, see that, or when I was questioning it? And he said, because that's still the path of least resistance. And that's how your body was releasing. So now that's done. Now you're ready to move because you no longer require that. And that's why that information came to you. That's why that answer came to you. So it's not like they're holding things back from us,
So now
besides,
does that mean that your eczema is going to get better?
yes, yes. So what's
Good.
happening is I'm going off that injection and I'm having surgery instead because it's a hormonal, like the cancer that I had was hormone positive, triple positive. So what they did immediately, like I was 36, 36 going on 37 when I was diagnosed. So um they put me into like hormone suppression. So put me into menopause basically, right? So that everything, the lowest amount of estrogen they wanted to knock down. Well, that affects the body in so many different ways. And this injection that I'm on is an additional suppressant, but the alternative to that is getting the ovaries out. And so I had really gone back and forth because I thought, well, shouldn't I be able to heal my body? Shouldn't I be able to say, wait a minute, I don't have cancer anymore. I'm not going to get cancer again. I know I'm okay. Shouldn't I be able to just go off of this and say, I'm done? Well, yes, I can. But here's the thing, we have to remember that we're still human. We have to remember we still have a human brain. And we also have to remember that, again, path of least resistance is going to be, well, where's your belief? So there's a part in my subconscious that I have to recognize has that little piece of, what if I go off of it? It's going to come back.
Mm.
And so, what's the path of least resistance? Going off the medication so that I no longer have the continuous breakouts and having the surgery, which is a very simple surgery, a day surgery that I'm comfortable with, and I'm able to carry on with that. That doesn't mean it's not uh like, this is the part where what I'm trying to get at is, a lot of people say, well, I'm on these medications and I shouldn't be, or all these things are happening to my body and I shouldn't be, and try to get themselves to this place of nothing, no medications, all healthy, no disease. And that is the process. That is what we're moving to. We also have to remember that not everything is equal. Not everything happens in this turn the page and it's all done. We're all on these journeys. And so for me, that's my path of least resistance. That's the easiest for me. And I know that I won't experience that again. I know that that's over. And that is what's right for me. And for somebody else, maybe they could just go off of it and that would be it. And that's their path and their body. But the other thing is, too, that Eric explained to me is, I'm going through this journey like you, like everybody else that is doing this, especially on a platform sharing it with other people. I'm going through it and have been sharing what I'm going through, sharing the different stages, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because that's real, because that's raw and that's authentic. And just like we talk about mediumship, let's debunk this. Let's have the understanding that yes, miracles do happen. Yes, amazing things, and we experience them all the time. And sometimes miracles come in a step-by-step process, but the thing is we're learning. And as we learn, we're able to share that with other people and make their journey okay. Make whatever your path of least resistance is okay. Right? So anyway, that's my little.
I know. Well, I think too, there was this woman on the Heal documentary. You have to watch it.
Yes.
She was very holistic.
Yes, I haven't watched it yet.
And she was kind of like, she didn't want to do chemo. She didn't want to do that, like, because she's so holistic. But then she went to a spiritual psychologist, and the psychologist said, you have to, your doctors are recommending that you do this, but in order for it to work, you have to believe it's going to work.
Yes.
So you can't fight the medicine as it's coming to you. So yes, like, our goal is to get you to not have to need chemo anymore, and become holistic again. But in the meantime, you have to embrace the medicine that you're giving, because otherwise your energy that you're putting out is contradicting the medicine that's coming in.
Exactly.
So yeah. So
that is exactly right, because what spirit has taught me is that we have been growing and evolving from a dense body over all these generations. So we're not going to jump from frequency. So we've talked about this with manifestation. I want a red Ferrari. I want a red Ferrari. Okay, I'm going to have a red Ferrari in my driveway any day now. Well, that belief system of being here to here is not so easy to jump vibrationally. We have to have these vibrational steps in between to help our beliefs, because belief system is, if I close my eyes and I wish real hard and I wish real hard, that's a little part of something, but that's not the whole thing. It's really not waving a magic wand over everything. There's dedication to that belief system, to choosing the thoughts, choosing the belief, and it's choosing the next best step. And so when it comes to our physical bodies, we have, like, Western medicine, no, is not everything, but it's still created from source. It's still all from source. It's still something that's been manifested from an idea. And we have to also understand that we have the choice with everything to believe and choose. There's a polarity. Do we want to choose to believe it's all bad and dark and it's connected to big pharma and all of these other things? Well, that might be there in part of it, but wouldn't it be easier to understand that source helped intelligence and helped create medicine to be able to help us move from this place here into a better place, so that we would be able to take over our own sovereignty and our own care? And that is a process, because we cannot jump from one to another with a big space. So accepting that Western medicine is a great part of it is a big relief for a lot of people. And it's okay. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. So I get a lot of people that, they shame themselves, or they feel bad because they say, well, I'm still on all these medications, or I'm sick all the time, and I take Advil, or I take this, and I feel bad about it. Well, that's okay. Like, accept what is right now, and accept that path of what's allowing you to get to the next steps. Because what Eric is just saying too is, it's the journey. It's the journey. So,
Yeah.
your belief system takes a journey. And so you're learning and experiencing, and it's the adversity within that journey that helps you. And that's applied to everything, not just the physical body. That's to our emotions, to our manifestations, to everything, because it's all connected. So now I'm looking forward to seeing that healing documentary. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it, but it makes so much sense, because that really is the truth. And there's people are on all different stages of their healing journey with their bodies, and there's nothing wrong. Nobody's wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody's on a journey.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole show right
I
there.
think
That's a
so.
whole
I know. I know.
leadership.
I know. We've kind of brought that one right out. But so let's see. Is there anything else that we want to add to this for everybody? One thing I'll say is that there's a lot of purification happening for people too. So a lot of releasing, a lot of purification. So there's a lot of healing that's happening in the ways that, there may be a lot of unknowns. So there's like a new shift that's come in, and in this shift of energy, there's a lot being pulled apart in people's lives. And so for those that are new on their journey, they might be experiencing everything pulling apart, might be feeling very unsettled in that. And I would just like to say to that, that's not going to be forever. That's not going to be forever. You're not always going to be in that state. And whatever anyone is going through right now, it's not forever. It's temporary, because change is the only thing that changes. Change is always moving. We are always moving. So nothing is forever. We can believe in our brains that it is, and the mind can trap you in that. But truly, nothing is forever. So if you allow yourself to flow with what's happening, and if you don't have the answers to something right now, if you don't know, what the solution is or how to see the way through a situation, then be okay with that, because it will come. It will come.
And I think you'll be guided too. I feel like, the spiritual journey is a healing journey, and to heal, to truly heal, you have to kind of get all that emotion that has been stuck down in the emotional traumas and everything that has been just buried for so long. It has to come out,
It
and it's
does.
not comfortable. And you're going to be like, oh, did I choose the wrong path? What, like I'm there. I'm like, oh my God, my life is amazing. And then I'm like, gosh, it's so much harder. And then I'm like, oh, it's amazing. And then I'm like, oh, this doesn't mean my life is perfect. It just is. But
Yeah.
overall, I do feel more confident and healed,
Yeah.
and I am healing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
um,
And also the adversity, the contrast is necessary. Like the contrast is what we need to be able to, we need to experience uncomfortable so that we can feel comfortable. We need to
yes.
have these energies to help propel us, because
Mhm.
sometimes we won't make a choice or do something. Like, think about sitting on the couch. If you're sitting on the couch all the time and you're comfortable and there's no need to get up off the couch for anything, then you're just going to stay on the couch your whole life.
Mhm.
But if suddenly, the couch has been whipped out from underneath of you, you're sitting on the floor and your butt hurts, but you're going to get up and you're going to start to do something about it. So think of that with everything. Something might feel like, why did that get taken away from me? Or why did this happen? And play with the idea that, and this is a true statement. It's up to you if you want to choose it or not. Play with the idea of, this is happening for me, not against me. It's happening for me, because it's true. Everything is truly happening for us. So on that note, that was good. And we did that in one swoop, no edits needed. That's the way I like it.
Love it.
Yay! That doesn't mean good. Yay!
All right.
All right. Well, Maren, we'll see you next week. And
Okay.
everybody, we'll see you next week. Thanks for coming out with us once again on an awesome Mentorship Monday. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.